AKA Padders, thank you for joining me. You're stepping into darkness. This is the 31 Days of Dread 2020 edition. The fourth year, we're doing one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. And I am your host, Peter A. DeLuca, AKA Pad, AKA the Pop Culture Pope, AKA the Sketchbook King. We're talking The House That Jack Built. This film is so important, it needed to be number two. Now, we don't go in order, but I just felt like this had to be number two. Let's get into it. All right, everyone, before we get into something spooky, let me tell you something. Trial by Fire is my comic book available right now on Indiegogo. Link in the description, and I will see you on the printed page. Welcome back. So by not going in order, I mean like there's no numerical positioning when it comes to the 31 Days of Dread. Now, the first day and the 31st day are kind of the like the odd numbers, but last year I fell into a really good rhythm with pairing movies together. And I think this also helps us understand a little bit about horror, because a lot of times with horror, this is what makes the genre so unique. If you put the old and the new together, you still can see the effects of some of these movies. Now, this doesn't quite work the same when it comes to comedies, science fiction movies, dramas, so on and so forth. Certainly doesn't work with animation. But with horror, because there's just ideas and imagery and effects that horror has on us, it stays and it's timeless. And again, this is why we celebrate horror movies here on this podcast. It is the absolute most unique, and I will say at this point, at this juncture in film history, the most important genre in all of film. The House that Jack Built. It's directed by Lars von Trier, Danish boy. Now, you may remember, I remember this guy's name and movie. Breaking the Waves. We've all heard Breaking the Waves. Breaking the Waves, 1996. It was on everyone's tongues. Like, everything was Breaking the Waves. Then he does Dancer in the Dark, 2000. Okay, now, he's done a lot of movies. Dogville. The movies of his that I've seen are his most recent movies. 2009, Antichrist. 2013, Nymphomaniac. And the 2018 House of Jack Built. Now, I didn't know he was the Antichrist guy until I researched a little bit of this movie. And the reason why I immediately went into research mode when I finished this movie, because I had to know who this guy was, because that's how shook, impressed I was for this movie. Now, we're dealing with a serial killer movie here. Now, and the movie doesn't have that much of a plot. I do not want to go into the ending of this movie because it's a whole giant discussion on its own. But the idea for this movie is that the serial killer will meet his fate. He will meet his fate through darkness. And it is a journey. It's a psychological journey into that darkness, into the many phases of him being a serial killer. He has a life. He lives a long life. He's a person of means. He's sophisticated. His serial killer name is Mr. Sophistication, played by Matt Damon, Drugstore Cowboy. Shout out over here. If you don't know Drugstore Cowboy, look it up. Matt Dillon, I'm sorry, not Matt Damon, Matt Dillon is one of the best. One of my favorite holdovers from 80s, from the 80s teenage boom. The teenage stars that came up through the 80s, were Matthew Broderick. It goes on and on. But this dude, Matt Dillon, is one of the absolute best. So the plot for this movie, I don't want to say it's thin, because that's not the point. But It is one of the greatest serial killer movies of all time. And I think this is a short list because a lot of movies have, like, a slasher movie is not really a serial killer movie. A slasher movie is just a slasher movie. You know, it's a gimmick character running around slashing. And it got me thinking. I'm like, what else even goes into this class? The other movie that came to mind is Henry. Subtitled "Portrait of a Serial Killer." That's going to be day 3. And Henry, I just finished watching Henry. Henry blows me away every single time I see it. Every single time. I watched this movie. I watched The House that Jack Built back to back because there was just so much there. This movie does, like, it fills in a lot of the blanks for Henry, because in Henry we don't know what's going through his mind. We don't know if he looks at the effects that he has on people a certain way, a different way. And here we do, and that's why this is important. Now, the idea of the sophisticated serial killer is, it's popular. Ever since Hannibal Lecter, we've had sophisticated serial killers. This is why I like Henry so much. Henry is just a contrast to that, and probably more true and more accurate. But The House that Jack Built it's a tour. It's a tour de force, and oh my God, I hate using that term, but everyone in this movie is good. The situations in this movie are wonderful because, like, we're teased a lot of the look. This is a kill movie. It's a kill fest. It's kill porn, and we're teased in the beginning, and then, like, it speeds up in the middle, and then it has this ending. And by that I mean how he kills people, what happens when he kills people, what goes through his mind after. He's a little bit OCD. There's this one scene where he murders a woman, and he cannot leave the house without checking for blood. He goes back to the car, thinks about, like, behind the picture frame, goes back, cleans behind the picture frame, and his OCD, like, you think his OCD is going to meet him, like, now it's going to be his undoing, but it's actually not. It's just another character trait that we get to see in, like, as a full-blown showcase of the character. And it's just awesome. And you see sometimes, like, even divine intervention steps in and pretty much saves the day, like, bails out Mr. Sophistication. And we have this, like, backstory where Mr. Sophistication isn't unknown. Like, he's a known serial killer because he teases the press. And we don't see any effect of this. We just see him doing it. We see him, he references it a couple times. I think one of his victims towards the end references Mr. Sophistication because he's well known by then. And there's almost like another story there. And, like, just the idea that this was maybe first developed as a TV show or like a mini series lends itself to how thick of a movie this is, because it's just every frame, like every internal dialogue that we hear, it's important. It really is. So, I mean, I can't recommend this movie enough. It came out in 2018. I called it on Hulu. Check it out. I kind of want to do like a volunteer breakdown. I want to get into his other movies because I love Nymphomaniac. I love Nymphomaniac. And I love Antichrist. I think both of those movies are just, again, triumphs. This guy being this late in the game shows you that you don't have to stumble when you get older, like some of these other filmmakers, Spielberg, Coppola, De Palma. I'm looking at you guys. All right, you guys used to be like everything. What you doing now? Okay, everyone, for the 31 Days of Dread, day 2, The House That Jack Built is a must-watch for the serial killer genre. I will say, as a psychological study, this might be the greatest one we've ever seen. It is easily top 2 serial killer movies of all time. Tomorrow, we will get into Henry, which is and always has been the greatest serial killer movie of all time. And then we're going to get into some H.P. Lovecraft with The Color of Space. I hope you like Nicolas Cage. Everyone, Peter A. DeLuca signing out. I love you. And go eat a Snickers bar and do something creative. Do me a favor. Go do something creative. Quick announcement. So this episode is dedicated to my father, R.I.P. Tony DeLuca, Tony Ironfeet. We love you and we miss you every single day.